This class, by the way, very unusual. It's simply because here I am supposedly, teaching the class on electromagnetic energy. I know nothing about it. So what are we doing here? What is this? Well, I do what I'm told, basically, and I was given the word to, to teach it. Now, as far as I know, there will be tonight's class, and there will be one on the 26th of December, which is in the next, not the next Wednesday, but the one after that. And actually, as far as I know, that's all there is so far. There could be extensions. I have a feeling there will be, but that's all I was told to announce. So that's what I'm announcing. This class came to us. Were you?
Yeah, we were.
What was happening? Refresh my memory.
I had done a proxy reading for Nancy and Robert.
Okay.
And then we were just finishing up the reading when Sir Arthur said about doing the class.
Interesting. Okay.
Finishing the reading. Oh, what was really interesting about what he said is that, we were saying, gee, I wonder when the class is going to start. And you're going, yeah, I wonder when the class is going to start. And then Sir Arthur pipes in and says, well, how soon do you want to see the world change? That was loaded.
Right away. Right away. Well, also I got the impression to cast a chart on this class at that moment. Yeah, it is. There is an aspect, by the way, of astrology called horary astrology, and what that is this, that you can ask a question and you cast a chart for the moment you ask the question. And it's quite a deep science, and I'm just starting to learn a little bit more about it as I go. But literally, you can ask, am I supposed to get this job or not? And then someone checks the time. You cast a chart for that, and the aspects will tell you, yay or nay. But there's certain restrictions. For instance, if Saturn happens to fall in the 7th house, you cannot get an answer for it, and things like that. It is very, very involved. You'd be surprised. So, I'm not going to go into all the details of the chart, but obviously, it's got to be telling about what we're doing here and what this is about, because this was the class and this was when we cast it. The first thing, the sun is in the sign of Scorpio, and of course that implies deep things, hidden things, research, going beyond the visible, going past the veil, so to speak. That's always Scorpio energy, and that's what the class is going to be about, apparently, because the sun, the major planet, is in Scorpio. It's in the 11th house of groups. So hopefully whatever you can learn here, you will be able to share it and somehow add something to groups that you may be connected with one way or the other. Okay. Interestingly enough, there's two houses that have a lot of planets in them. One of them is the house of groups, we mentioned. The other one is the house of values and or money. Odd, huh?
We like that.
Do I have anyone's attention? Okay. Okay. Everyone, huh? What? Yeah, and they're squaring, exactly. So there seems to be a square, by the way, in astrology is a hard angle, and what it basically usually will imply is that something has to give. There's a need to change here. There's a forced change. There will have to be, because there's too much friction to remain a square. Like when a planet creates a square to your planet in your chart, you got to move. You got to do something, because it will force you, it will push you, it will prod you, or it will pressure you to do something. It won't leave you alone, usually. So there's a square going on here from the house of values or money to the house of groups of people. And yet I'm now at this moment being given the enlightenment that, the 11th house is not only the groups of people we associate with, it is also your dreams and your wishes. So now we're starting to see it on that octave. That what we're going to learn here, by the way, all the planets in Aquarius, that's always a sign of the new, the different, the cutting edge, the avant-garde, the genius, the inventor, the new, the newest thing. Our values in this class will have to become more Aquarian, and then they'll force the change in the dreams and desires and things and how we get it, perhaps. So that would be one thing we could read into it. The rising sign is Sagittarius. which has to do with far-seeing, prophecy to some degree. The moon is in Virgo, as is the midheaven, which has to do with healing. So we're going to talk about healing here, okay? So these are just a few things, without going into too many differences.
But it also has to do with the Divine Mother.
I suppose. The moon, well, the moon always does, of course. Yeah, do you mean Virgo? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think Virgo has to do with the Divine Mother, the mother aspect.
I suppose. Where do you get this information? Is this
From Symphony of the Zodiac by Torkelson.
Who?
What's his name? Sardarian.
Torquem Sardarian. A very powerful man, that one. I knew him.
He's dead.
Yeah, well. You know what I have to say about that, now don't you?
Arthur talks to
Don't,
the dead.
yeah, I was going to say.
It's only a state of
Yeah, really. You forget with whom you're dealing here. Dead? What's that? So, so anyway, it's an interesting chart, and what I am trying to, just encapsulate it, so we don't go into a lot of details here. I would say that it has something to do with the changing of our values. It has to do with coming up with very new ways of doing things, breakthrough new ways that are going to improve the quality of our research into anything we do, and that it's going to have a healing effect in the long run and in the short run. And furthermore, that it's going to guide us all to teach people how to do this as we go. What I know, based on what I've been told, is this. We're not going to be dealing with electromagnetic energy here from the purely scientific standpoint, okay? It's a very deep subject. If you wanted to get into it, you can go into things like quantum physics and stuff like that, which I don't know about you, but I'm not ready for that at this moment, okay? It's a little late in the day for them, so, it's not in the mood right now. Maybe in the morning. But we're going to deal with it more from a spiritual angle, of course, because that's how we understand things anyway. For instance, okay, astrology, the science of the effects of planetary bodies upon human consciousness, versus astronomy, the science of the planets themselves and heavenly bodies themselves, what they're made up of, how much they weigh, how far away they are from each other, from the sun, blah, blah, blah. Astrologers don't really care about all that stuff. Astronomers think astrologers are quacks. We have no validity in their eyes. So you can see where, those things are going. Now, if we were going to give a class on the scientific side of electromagnetic energy, then I would imagine we would have to all have notebooks, and there would be a test to be taken, and blah, 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 blah. And that's not my style. Okay, so we're not, so just so you understand, that isn't the case. We're dealing with it from a spiritual point of view, okay? And as such, we're going to break it up into this. Electromagnetic, electric is what? It broadcasts. It sends out. It repels. It shocks. It's male energy. Magnetic, the opposite. It draws. It woos. It compels. It's female energy. So you're dealing with these two different kinds of energies, and we all have them. They're all in our beingness. Some of you may know that our beloved Guru Deva, the guru that used to run the temple on Kauai, recently took his Mahasamadhi. Mahasamadhi is the term used in the Hindu tradition for when you leave your body finally, in the so-called change called death. These beings do it pretty deliberately, pretty consciously. I happen to know for a fact that a year before he left us, he had hurt his back hiking, so he wasn't in too bad shape. And the doctors were checking him out perfectly, and he was perfectly fine. And then in less than a year, he suddenly was anemic. And then within 2 weeks, he had colon cancer that had spread throughout the body, and then 2 weeks later, he was gone. But that's how they do it. You see, they really do. They just kind of check out when they want to go. Like the American Indians, they say, today's a good day to die. And they would just lay down and die. They just go out of their body. Just go. So the reason I bring him up is simply because he taught, and it's, basic Hindu teaching, that the Kundalini energy in the spine will have currents that run up and down the spine. One's called the Ida current, the other's called the Pingala. One's feminine, one's masculine. There's a central current called the Shushumna that runs right up and down the spine. That's the one you want to be in. So to be electromagnetic, or to use electromagnetic energy, which is what we're here for, we're going to start thinking in terms of polarities and in terms of, in a sense, not being polarized, being in the center. So you're neither this nor that. You are the central one. More powerful. When you're in the center, when you use what they call the law of the one, there's no opposite. So if I'm trying to manifest something, I don't want to even consider that it can't happen or that it won't. I'm working against myself. All I know is it will be. God creates that way. What if it doesn't work this time? Fortunately, God doesn't do that. So we're dealing with this energy. There is a group, and some of you may know of it, called Nichiren Shoshu, Buddhist. And they're famous for their chant, which is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And that chant is used very magnetically. A lot of people who are into Nichiren Shoshu, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, will sit there and have prayer beads, by the way, they're using them as they're chanting, and they've got their mind focused on something that they're trying to manifest. As they're chanting, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, they sit in front of an altar called a Gohansen. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's a very magnetic chant or mantra. It's charged to draw things in. See, it is. So that would be an example of something very magnetic, that you'd want to use. Charisma, they talk about Wilhelm charisma. What is that? Magnetic energy. However, to really work with electromagnetic energy, we want to get past polarity, and obviously polarity has to do with gender, male, female, right? So one of the first things we're going to put across here, as per what the teachers have told me, is that you'll want to start thinking in terms of being neither male nor female, or both, if you will, but don't over-identify with the body you happen to be in. You're in a male body or in a female body, fine, your choice, for good reasons. That doesn't mean you are that, right? Any more than you are not your feelings, you are not your thoughts, you are not your beliefs, for that matter. As again, Gurudeva, he talks about the area, the mind, the areas of the mind. He says, you go to an area of the mind, there's an area of the mind that's always worried. Always. There's an area of the mind that's always fearful, an area of the mind that's always happy. So your awareness is like a little ball of light, and you go from one to the other, like going to different neighborhoods. When you're in San Francisco, you're not San Francisco. You're just in San Francisco. You're experiencing the things that you can't experience in San Francisco. When you leave there, that ain't happening anymore, right? You never were San Francisco. So also, when you're in the area of the mind of, let's say, fear, you're not fear. When you're in the state of male or female body, you're not necessarily male or female. And so it's kind of important to start to think in terms of that, if you can. Notice the great adepts. Notice the masters that we've had. Lord Gautama Buddha, the Master Jesus, most of them. You'll notice when they were doing their public work, most of them, A, were not married. B, they didn't seem to need a mate. There was no sense of a lack. When you were with Jesus, hey, where's your wife? Right, or Buddha, Same thing. Why? Because they were in that central current. They were in that place, you see, so they didn't lack either one. They were both. So you're in that place of being both. Okay. There is a certain connection with electromagnetic energy to things like UFOs. People have heard about UFOs. How do they fly? Well, one way that they fly is by using an electromagnetic current directing the electric part to repel off the Earth. So it's the opposite of attracting. Gravity is what holds us down. They just put on a strong beam of repulsion energy that is stronger than gravity. And next thing you know, they're doing this way. Yogis who can levitate do the same thing. Have any of you ever seen anyone levitate? No? I have. I've seen a lady float. She was meditating and she just started going up. The guy had to come and push her back down on the chair, and then she went up again. You know, so it's kind of interesting. That does exist. There are mysteries in magnets, magnetic. And what was told to me to share with you was that whenever you can, get a hold of a magnet and play with it, just like a kid would. Play with it. Because what I'm told is that if you stay with it long enough, it will like tell you its mystery. It will convey it to you. It's not that hard to do. You just kind of stick with it, and you'll find that that does work. You know, I lived in Molokai for some years, and it was a very wonderful time for me. Great psychic opening, very beautiful. A lot of time to meditate, and I found myself on my stomach watching the grass grow. I mean, literally. And what it was is that I had simplified to where that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to watch nature happen. You know, and that's where my clairvoyance began really opening up a lot. Kids do that all the time. So when we talk about electromagnetic energy, we're talking about the ability to use either side when you want to, by being used to the concept of being both, so you can have either one. Pretty simple, really. I mean, for our purposes here, it's really pretty basic. For instance, we are going to do something tonight that's going to be an exercise, and it's going to be this. I'm going to ask you a little bit later on as we go to, in your mind at least, get two lists together. And it can be short for the purposes of this. And the list will be, one, some things you would want to attract, and the other would be things you want to repel. Okay? We are creators. We're told that the creator is always greater than the creation. Therefore, any negative possibility that exists in your world as a possibility only exists because you made it one. You agreed to it, you invited it, you thought it up, whatever, okay? So, you probably don't want to keep it around, right? I mean, if it's a negative thing. So you want to get rid of it. So we'll be working on getting rid of things. See what I'm saying? That's what we're going to be doing. The exercise we're going to do tonight is going to be just that. We're going to focus on, I'm going to first say, okay, pick something you want to draw, and then I'm going to share with you ways of drawing it. And then I'm going to say, now pick something you want to get rid of. And then I'm going to show you ways of doing that. And that's the push-pull thing, okay, that we got going. It's really pretty neat, pretty strong stuff. Okay, I want to stop now and ask if there's any questions or comments or food you brought. Oh, no, go on.
So when you're working on the repelling, that can be something that we're dealing with internally, a trait.
It can be anything at all. Let's just call it a creation you'd want to get rid of or get. You know, the fact that it exists in your world means that somehow you had something to do with it being there, right? Whatever. So whatever it is, whether it's a physical thing or a trait, either way, you would use the same thing. You would use this exact same thing, and the byproduct will be a more integrated, powerful unit of consciousness that is us as individuals, because we will then be better at both, attracting and repelling, right? That's really the bottom line. Yeah, it's really simple. I mean, as I understand it, I know electromagnetic energy is very deep, as I said, and there's a lot to it and stuff, but fortunately we're not going to do that here, okay? So this is kind of like the no-brainer in a way, you know. And yet it's all we need. That's what I've always felt. You know, I've always found that I feel that that truth and all those subjects are designed to be easily understood, not difficult. I think man makes things difficult, you know. Any of you ever been to an astrologer who talks over your head? Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. You have a quincunx here that's about to completely mess up your third house. And you're like, huh? What? You know, stuff like that. Why don't they just talk English? They make it difficult. I like to demystify things as much as I can, you know. So, anyway, that's what we'll do. Okay, so let us then do this. Let's begin. Pick something first of all that you would want to attract. So each one of you, if you would, and by the way, please do not feel in any way embarrassed or ashamed if what you want to attract is a physical thing, a material thing. There's nothing wrong with that. You may need to manifest that for your divine plan. So don't, you know, like, oh, well, I need a car, but that's so material. Or I need money, but that's so material. Hey, we are in a material world, you know, temporarily. So if that's what you most need to attract, you better do it. You know, and no shame. I mean, it's not a thing to, you know, well, I want to do something spiritual here. No, everything's spiritual. Everything. There's nothing that is not. So if you would, go ahead and you pick something that you want to attract, just one specific thing, if you would. And here comes our first challenge, and that is, let's see how long you can keep your attention on that one thing. It tends to run away with you. So just kind of keep bringing your attention back to the thing that you're trying to desire, just one thing for now. We will do others, but we have to start somewhere. So pick just one thing, if you would. Just one thing. I'm going to ask you to continue to hold your attention on that while I am talking about how to draw it. And so if you would, and if your attention strays, just bring it back, it's okay. But keep your attention on this one thing that and you can change it if you want, but settle on one. Don't keep changing and changing and changing like, you know, channels of the TV. Just pick one finally. And then think about this, if you would. That again, as I'm speaking, just keep your attention on the thing that you're trying to draw, if you would. Your eyes can be open or closed. Closed might be better, but if you want them open, that's fine. Okay. In these huge salvage yards that I've seen, mostly on the mainland, I don't know if I've seen any here, these places where they will compress cars into little, you know, squares of metal, right? Well, they use these things that are called industrial magnets, huge magnets. They're round usually, and they're electric, meaning that all they do is hit a switch and suddenly the magnetic current goes on. When it goes on, anything that's metal that isn't nailed down, you know, will fly at this thing because it's very powerful. Okay, that's a magnet. Now that magnetic current was created, you might say, by man, or at least man figured out how to, you know, leash it to where he could use it. Anything man can create mechanically, man can create in consciousness or by thought. So, what I'm getting at obviously is that start to think about what that magnetic current is. You don't have to understand it like mechanically or scientifically. Just think about a very powerful magnetic current that draws something unto itself with no questions asked. In other words, it is automatic. Wham! Once they hit that thing, it'll pick up a car, pick up 2 or 3 of them. So again, just give thought as you're trying to also hold the thing that you're drawing in to the power of the magnetic current, of what a magnetic current can be. And feel the fact that you are completely capable of creating one. And that's exactly what I'm inviting you to do now. Start to surround the thing, the object of your desire, surround it with this magnetic current, just like if you'd put a cloud or a frame or something like that around the object of your desire, and feel the magnetic current drawing that thing to you. Pull it. You literally are using your willpower here. Start to pull it. It's not an act of strain now. You're not straining, but you're definitely intent. You're very intent. Get the feeling of what a magnetic current feels like. You're creating one right this moment. That's what you're doing. If you're doing this right, and I trust you are creating a magnetic current. That's what you're doing right now. You can use it for anything, but in this case, using it for one particular thing. Sir Arthur once said that he imagined most of us at some point as kids had tried to drink a very thick malt that wouldn't hardly come up that straw. Well, what do? You suck real hard, right? You almost like you get like these dimples in your cheeks, but you feel how you have to draw. We've all done that, right? A malt or something, and you have to really work on that to get that thing to come up the straw to go in your mouth. Well, that's the same feeling. Again, I just want to use different examples to show you what it feels like. It's a strong magnetic current that will not take no for an answer. You are in the central current, the Shushumna, so you're not in polarity. You are simply involved in the act of attracting something right now. Attract it. Draw it to you. There's no question but that it will come to you. Just a matter of time. It's not if, it's when. Draw it unto you. Feel it like steady. It's very powerful, but again, it's not a strain thing. And again, what we're learning to do here is keep our attention on the object of our desire and the magnetic current that is like a tractor beam drawing it unto us. So this does take some training, but if you're patient with yourself and give yourself time and opportunity, you will get it. Nothing that I know that's worth anything is not worth the effort it takes to draw it in. Feel it coming to you, and keep doing it until you feel actually absolutely convinced that you will have this thing, and there's no doubt in your being. That's the goal. Keep that magnetic current going. What you're doing is showing your subconscious mind how to draw in the things you desire. Your subconscious mind is like a child. It watches you. Whatever you do enough times through repetition, it finally starts to mimic. It goes, oh, that's what she wants, or that's what he wants. And then it starts taking it over for you. And that's the power of the subconscious mind, among other things. So just know that it's you're showing, it's like showing a child how to make a bed. You got to make the bed a few times, and finally the kid gets the hang of it. They might not do a good job the first time or two, but they finally do. So you're teaching yourself here. You are teaching yourself how to create a magnetic current that will draw to yourself something that you want, and that, by what we're told, God, if you will, for lack of a better word, has said we can have. In other words, we are supposed to create things. We are supposed to draw things unto ourselves. That's the whole nature of life as we understand it, one aspect of it. Okay, so gently, gently let that go now. Stay in a meditative state, if you would. Stay in a meditative state, but let that particular feeling and creation go. Just release it. Let it go. Release it. At least as far as the effort it's taken to create it. Okay, now you want to go to your list of things you want to get rid of. Something you want gone, gone, gone from your world. It could be a quality of yours. It could be a negative possibility, like a fear that you fear one day could happen. It could be a person. It could be a condition. It could be all kinds of things, whatever. You pick something. You are completely empowered to get rid of things you don't like. That's what we're taught. We're not meant to be victims, and we're not victims anyway. So, pick something you just want to be gone from your world. And then begin literally to push it out of your world. Just like if you're pushing a drunk out of your house who wouldn't, shut up or something. Like you'd have to gently keep pushing them to the door and finally get them out, close the door and lock it. They're out. In other words, you're literally pushing this thing away from you. I mean, that should be the feeling. Just like the magnetic was drawing it, you're doing the opposite, obviously. You're pushing it with every erg of your will. This thing has no place in your world evermore. It is gone. It is completely gone. It is annihilated. Not necessarily in the, like, to blow it up, but I mean, as far as you're concerned, it's annihilated. Because it's all you have to be concerned about is just your own reality. Send it away. Send it away, and it can never return. You are the master of your own domain. You are like the king or queen of your own kingdom or queendom. You decide what's there and what isn't. Get rid of it. Will it far, far, far away, getting smaller and smaller and smaller, till you can feel it. Again, it has to register in the feeling body that it is gone, gone, gone. Let's just stick with that for a while, please. There must be a very intense willing, and if you want to look at this as a polarity number, I guess you'd have to think in terms of this being more of a male or masculine energy you're using versus the magnetic, which is more feminine. Just using the electric side of your nature. Electrocute it. Get rid of it. Get that feeling that this will never, ever, ever, ever be part of your reality again. Not in a million years. No way. It's impossible. Make it impossible to ever come back. That would be a good way to put it. Impossible. And that is the repulsion, the repelling of the electric current. Stay with it if you would, stay with it. What I'm hearing here from the guides is that even though they say everybody's making a pretty good try, they said all of us are very, very weak in our focusing and our willing. So this is, going to take a little bit of work, but it's well worth it, because we'll end up being powerful electromagnetic beings that can attract or repel with a thought. And that's what we want to be and do. So we're masters of creation. It's a little bit longer. Gone. Okay. Okay, now, staying in the meditative state, we're going to go to each side of the list just one more time. So now, one more thing you'd like to attract, please. One more thing. Pick something you really, really would just love to see in your living room. Or in your life, anyway. Feel something that would just make you very, very happy. Something you really need. Feel the benefit. The permanent benefit once it enters your life and your world. There should be one, I would think. And start to draw it magnetically. Turn on the switch. Turn on the magnetic current. Just click and it just gets very strong. Very powerful. It's just like a Niagara Falls. Incredible torrent of energy, but drawing something towards you. Nothing can resist this. Nothing. You are completely irresistible. Nature will bend to your will. Feel yourself surrounding the object of your desire with a magnetic current. Just like, if you want to see it as smoke or a cloud or just a light, whatever. But pick something and surround the object of your desire and draw it unto you very powerfully. Okay, I'm being told to say that some of you haven't understood the intensity of the draw. You need to draw it much more powerfully than you are. It's not just a. They tell me that some of you, like the thoughts you're using, or the energy is like a whim. They say you're using the energy of a whim, which is just a very passing thought. No, 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 no. This is something you need to have in your life. You've chosen to. Then you want to be committed then. Take responsibility. Be committed. Take it on. Have it. Draw it. Till you have that feeling that nothing about this thing is resisting you or can resist you. You are absolutely irresistible when it comes to drawing something that you need or want. Feel it coming to you. Surround it with a magnet. Pull it in. Just like if you were out, what they call that, bill fishing, you got this big, huge marlin. You may have them on the line, but you still have to reel them in. It takes a lot of effort. Pull that thing towards you. Have it. Remember the malt analogy? You want to use that intensity. Really pull, 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 pull. Hooky lao, pull. You got to really bring it in. Feel it coming to you. Nothing can stop it. And then it's yours. And that's the way you will magnetize anything you would choose to magnetize from this point forward for all of eternity. And then one last thing, we're going to repel. So pick something that you want out of your world, once and for all. It can just be a condition, whatever, anything. Some disagreeable thing that somehow you've unwittingly allowed or created. Now's your chance to get rid of it. Correct your own mistake. And just like something being fired out of a cannon. Boom, it's gone. It's out of here. It's never going to come back. You are gone. You have no reality in my world at all. Never did, really, but whatever there was of you is now gone, gone, gone. You're melting. You're completely neutralized. By the way, one of the guides is adding a PS at this moment, so I'm going to throw it in because we've come to this point. And one of the guides is saying, and actually I know of this, I had forgotten it, but he's included it. He says that when you repel something, when you get rid of something, you've created a vacuum. And nature abhors a vacuum. Put something there. Let's say you got rid of a person in your life that you really just didn't want to have there. Well, that has created a vacuum, so put somebody that you would like to have there. If it's a so-called friend that you got rid of, well then put a real friend. If it's a lover, put a good lover, whatever. Replace the weed you pulled by planting a flower. And when you feel satisfied with that, then gently let it go. It comes to me that all beings who are what we would call functioning at the superconscious level are electromagnetic consciously. They are. So it's like the inevitable. I mean, it's where we all got to go, we all got to be. We're going to get there sooner or later, so let's just go now. Why wait? Why dally? Why put it off? We just want to be there now and be very, very electromagnetic. And, you'd be surprised, but just the concept, just the thought of electromagnetic beingness opens that whole realm to you. It's amazing. When people don't think of it, they don't have it. And that's something so simple, huh? It is so simple. Magic. So, what the guides have intimated is that if we care to work with this, it will become quickly a very strong talent that we have. So much so, we'll even be able to do it for other people. It's almost like you can, by the cosmic law of the transfer of energy, there's such a law, you can transfer this to other people. You end up being somebody who can, don't fall out of your chair, answer prayers. Blasphemy. Only God can answer prayers. Well, who do you think I am? You're God. I'm God. Everything's God. So that's it. So literally, I mean, where if someone, let's say, really, really wants something and you feel that they deserve it, but they maybe just, don't have the wherewithal to draw it, you can often do that for them. You can actually do that. Believe it or not. If their karma will not allow it, you will not be successful. Don't worry. Because some people say, well, maybe I shouldn't help these people because their karma wouldn't allow it. And one teacher once said, it's not really up to you to decide that. You help when you can. That's all. So when we come to this whole concept of electromagnetic energy, we're feeling the central current of the spine, Shushumna. You're feeling yourself, in a sense, genderless, or both genders, but not just one. It's unbalanced. And you are feeling yourself operating with what we call within the law of the one. Anything you do it absolutely. There's no question. There's no yes or no, maybe, could be, someday. It's just not if it will occur, but when. And you can get strong enough here, so I'm told that you will find, they say, if we stick with this, that the results will be fairly dramatic as we go along. I've heard that 1 year of working with this is sufficient, because 12 new moon cycles going by over the course of the time that you would be doing this is a formula that when you do that, you suddenly something like a quantum leap, breaks through, and you got it in your back pocket. Yes.
If someone else's karma would prevent them from benefiting, does that also mean that our own karma will keep us from manifesting in this way?
Well, I'd have to say yes, because the karma of each individual would be what would prescribe the limitations.
Is there a way for us to clear that? I mean,
Yeah.
we wouldn't necessarily know.
You're right. We wouldn't. Well, there's a lot of ways, of clearing karma. One would be, if you could get a sense of what the karma might be about, obviously, you can do something to, balance that. That would be one thing. Number two, just doing good works for other people is always a good thing. Like in India, where they're really up on the karma thing, and they totally are very aware of their astrology. When they see, for instance, that a so-called negative astrological time is coming up, they go out and start feeding people. They go visit the poor. They do it, you know what I mean? They start giving away things. Because we're not used to thinking that way, but you can generate good karma. It's like, it's a ledger book. Debits, credits. My first psychic teacher was an accountant, and she saw everything in terms of that, black and white. It was really neat. It's really neat. Capricorn lady. She said, I don't care how bad, whatever you think you did, you did. She said, it's just like energy, it's just like money, it's just like numbers. You can balance it. There's no such thing as hopeless, that just doesn't exist. So she says, start doing good works. People think that they, are limited in that way. We're not. Do you know that the great masters that we know of often spend great amounts of their day just sitting there sending influence out into the world? And they're heavily effective. So we can do the same thing. You can stand on the bank line, you could send a good thought, generate some good karma, right? Really, it's always. I sent out the newsletter, and that was one of the little messages I threw on there that people who think, I don't have any money to give gifts, you don't need money. And now with this electromagnetic, you'll be even better. You'll be stronger at it. Okay, the ability to attract or repel simply defines the creative process one more notch. That's what it does. It defines it. You see? You draw, you send away. Pretty basic. We have an address coming from somebody in spirit. Don't know who, but we'll soon find out. I think it's time to turn this over. Energy is that apparently, as we move into the age of Aquarius, Aquarius energy is by nature very electromagnetic. Aquarius is a mental sign. Probably I would imagine, the clearest of the mental signs, which would involve also Gemini and Libra. And I would say that Aquarius is the ultimate mind in some ways, you know. And as such, as we come into this new time of Aquarius, we want to have that going for us, right? We want to be very, very clear. We're leaving behind, mercifully, the 2,000-year Piscean dispensation that we've just ended. And Pisces, of course, as you know, is a water sign. And boy, is it a water sign. It's emotional. It by nature can be very unclear. It can be unclear at its worst. At its best, it's highly clairvoyant. But at its worst, it's just illusion and delusion and delusion and delusion, and it's all you keep bumping into each other forever. Hi, illusion, meet delusion. You know, you get back. Fine kettle of fish we got into here. So, okay, so any more bathroom breaks? Are we okay? Okay, so be it. Okay. I am Corton. In saying that, I have given you my entire identity. I have been called to this place to explain sound frequencies in a name. You have pictures of great beings. You call them masters. You call them gods. What are they? They are vortices. They are chakras of electromagnetic energy. And so, when in the act of executing electromagnetic feat, you would do well to use the sound connected with their name. There is a great being known as Hercules, vaster than you can imagine, of the great, great Elohim. Powerful is he, unlimited in creative ability. Hercules. When working with electric energy, Hercules. The sound frequency intensifies your effort. You will combine then the component parts, releasing the magnetic current, surrounding object of desire, intoning the name. What name? The name that has most power to you. The name that has the highest frequency to you. What would that name be? Some will say God. If so, you may use that. Some say no. Blasphemy then results. This is not true. It is I, Corton, who has explained something in your own language that you do not understand, for its roots are lost in antiquity. You speak of blasphemy. You speak of cursing, malediction. You speak of God damn it. Yet I say that this phrase evolves from the very words God, the most powerful force you know. Damn, to stop, to contain, to impede movement, as in a dam that contains water. It referring to that which you would have stopped. Therefore, is this blasphemy? I say it is statement of creative intent. Your mores and cultural traditions notwithstanding. And so, I am here simply to state the name. What name? The name that is most powerful to you. Your minds reach out to me. Two of you here make the statement. But what then of the so-called commandments given to Moses? What then of the commandment that exhorts, thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain? We would interpret this precisely as it is. In vain means to draw great power for uses that are insignificant, possibly frivolous. That is all. We suggest that you compile a list of the most powerful words you know, the most powerful names you feel, and know that, properly understood, they become and have been given to you as batteries of power, conveyors of electrical energy. And so it is. The lesson is complete. I am Corton. I am no longer here. This being has not spoken to me for, God, I want to say 20 years or something, a long time.
He came through 9 years ago, Christmas Day.
Did he?
Yes, he came through in my reading.
Interesting. Yeah, he hasn't been around for the longest time.
He's Space Being. He's the Chief Communications Officer for the Intergalactic Fleet. I believe he's part of the Great White Brotherhood Space Being Force.
I remember him, I was with my son Adam, and we were driving through these winding hills in Ojai, California, and this corton suddenly controlled my body in trance, and my eyes were closed. He was driving the car, and Adam was freaking out. He kept asking Adam, "Where's your faith? Where's your faith?" Oh, I don't know. Okay, well, that's the class. Any questions? Class dismissed.